What's up, Internet? Ricky from Worst Friends Play here, and today I'm dropping some knowledge nobody asked for in a new potential series, Artifact Weapons, Where the Hell Did They Come From? The recent expansion of WoW is everyone gaining these uber weapons for like every spec of every class, but a lot of people have no idea where the hell they came from. So today's video is focused on Shamans and the 3 artifact weapons they can obtain, with some video on the quest line and some lore flavored commentary so you can appreciate why your new favorite toy is so legendary. And don't forget, if you like what you hear, show some love on that thumbs up and subscribe button. With enough support, I'll do every weapon of every class in a similar fashion, so you can go to your guild chat and be the know-it-all that we all wish they thought we were. First off is the Fist of Raw Den. This is the main weapon for Elemental, the ranged DPS specialization for Shamans. Other than providing significant stat buffs to Intellect, Crit, and Mastery, this weapon gives you an ability to massively empower your lightning bolts. But where the hell did it come from? So within WoW's lore is this pantheon of titans simply known as the Pantheon. They're a group of titans who created the various worlds and basically overwatched the universe. They're also the leaders of the entire titan race and are responsible for giving power to the dragon aspects like Alexstrasza and Neltharion, aka Deathwing. If you've been playing WoW for a while, you've probably ran into at least the 2 main titans at one point or another. Amin-Thul, who's basically Zeus, appears briefly in Menethil Harbor for Alliance members who finish the Absent-Minded Prospector quest at around level 24-25. More notably known to us WoW addicts is the big bad titan Sargeras, who used to be the defender of the Pantheon but ultimately betrayed them and created the Legion we all know and love. Very similar to Deathwing. Blizzard likes to have its defenders of the so-and-so eventually grow to hate the so-and-so. Anyway, Amin-Thul picks his favorite servant Ra to bestow this weapon upon, giving him power over the Storm while he watches over the southern regions of Azeroth, Uldum, Ahn'Qiraj, and Pandaria. Ra also teams with Helya, whose blacksmithing profession must be at least 900, to create the matching shield, the Highkeeper's Ward, which serves as a key to the elemental plane and the jail cells of all the 4 elemental lords. Ra also creates the Mogu, who in their language call him Ra Den, or simply translated Master Ra. The Mogu serve as an army to combat the Black Empire, which is a force we haven't been witness to in the WoW lore. Eventually, Lei Shen, Big Mogu who you may remember as the boss of the Thunder Isles during the Mist of Pandaria expansion, gets all emo about its existence and defeats Ra and steals his power, which is how he became Emperor of the Mogu, raid boss of the Throne of Thunder, and eventual corpse. So the Fist of Ra Den goes missing until Zwen, the shiny white tiger of Kunlai, suddenly finds it and decides to keep it under his watch without telling anybody for like a whole expansion. Well, now Azeroth is in such deep crap that Zwen finally decides to allow someone to test their ability to wield it, because simply saving the world 6 times over was not enough. So here we are, cleaning out Guaolai of all those dirty Mogu spirits and picking up Zwen's mail. By mail I mean the edicts of Fire, Stone, and Storm, which are super important, but as far as he knows, are just scattered across each wing and totally not in the wrong hands. Don't forget, there's booby traps everywhere, and we all know how much we miss those. Then we get to fly all the way back to Zwen ourselves because there's no FedEx in WoW, and start the real trials, like shooing away loiterers, fighting off his drunk friend and underage niece practically by yourself while your partner talks shit, and then letting him watch you put on an EDM concert until it's crashed by the unwanted guests and you have to kick all their asses. Next up, we have Sharis Dal, Scepter of the Tides. This is the main weapon for Restoration, the healing specialization for Shamans. Also providing buffs to Intellect, Crit, and Mastery, this weapon gives you an additional targeted AoE heal to keep your allies alive. But where the hell did it come from? Well, this weapon is also known as the Scepter of Azara, because it was created by Queen Azara herself. If you don't know or remember who she is, Azara was the queen of the Night Elves like thousands of years ago, during their majority reign of Azeroth in the first invasion of the Legion. In fact, she was basically directly responsible for the invasion in the first place, being super obsessed with power and perfection, which Sargeras appeared to be. After getting her ass handed to her by the Night Elf love triangle, then getting her and all her followers sucked into the depths due to the sundering that created the Azeroth we all know today, she and those with her mutated into the Naga. But before all that, when she was still a pretty lady, she wanted a pretty scepter to house some of the power she had constant access to. You know, to carry around with her or whatever. So she creates Sharis Dal, Scepter of the Tides, which houses the only remaining pure water from the Well of Eternity. The Well of Eternity was basically the main font of power in Azeroth back like 10,000 years ago, when there was one continent, the original Kalimdor, and the Well of Eternity is what would blow the whole thing apart, creating the Azeroth we see today, leaving the Maelstrom in its place. The Maelstrom being where all the Shammies like to hang out and use the almighty elemental power they worked so hard to master to play simple puzzle games for hours of fun. So Azara loses the Scepter in the chaos, and it's found by some surviving Night Elves that somehow were close enough to be where the Scepter could be found, but didn't know enough about their queen that had just destroyed their world and caused all their suffering to be able to comprehend that this pretty stick was super OP. So what do? They bury it with some priestess in Azuna that wasn't even influential enough for anyone to remember her name. Then it ends up in the ruins of Vashjir, aka wettest zone ever, from the Cataclysm expansion, where we find out it was being used to manipulate the powers of water to cloak the Naga from Neptulon back in that day when we had to save his ass from an invasion. So after returning to Abyssal Maw, we face off against the current wielder, a Naga sea witch known as the Ladies of Threen. So now we find ourselves saving a giant, who I can only assume by his appearance smells way more fishy than the Naga, and he basically tanks and spanks while you heal everyone through this pseudo-instance. Then you save Adelie, who I'm sure will be super useful here on out. Oh, yeah, you see that? His back hurts because he's carrying the team. Then we quickly beat the crap out of this guy, get motion sickness from all the Willy Wonka bubbles, play a broken minigame. Yeah, see that? Broken minigame. Then finally face off against the boss with help of our trusty giant friend, homie Uranak, and don't forget our grateful Shisham. Wait. There she is. See? Useful as ever. And there we go. Some overly brutal murder, and voila, you can main healer again.
Well then, I guess we're done talking here.
Lastly, we have the most famous of all, Doomhammer. This is the main weapon for enhancement, the melee DPS specialization for Shaman. This weapon boosts your agility, crit, and mastery, and provides a new ability that forces Wind Fury, causing a flurry of attacks to boost your damage. But where the hell did it come from? While most WoW players already have familiarity with Doomhammer through Thrall, who's been a big part of the WoW's main story since Cataclysm, but he was not its original wielder. Back in Draenor, where the orcs originally come from, there was Telkar Doomhammer, who passed the Doomhammer to his son Orgrim. The Doomhammer was forged in the elemental lava of Draenor, but was simply a warrior's weapon at that point. Orgrim wields Doomhammer during his reign as war chief in the first and second wars against the Alliance, his culling of Gul'dan's warlocks, and like 3 different hairdos. After suffering defeat due to Gul'dan's treachery and basically becoming a hermit, he finds his way back to Thrall, where he gets all Obi-Wan and eventually passes Doomhammer to him when he sees his ability to lead with honor and intentions towards repairing the Horde and the Orcish people. This is all prophesied to him by the prophet Velen back in Draenor as a child, who said the last of the Doomhammer line will use it to bring salvation and then doom to the Orc people. Then it will pass into the hands of one who is not of the Blackrock clan. All will change again, and it will once again be used in the cause of justice. This is why Thrall finally gains Doomhammer, and through time it becomes more famous and powerful from his practice as a shaman, his ascendance as Earthwarder, and eventual gank of Garrosh. Thrall has wielded Doomhammer through the second invasion of the Legion in Warcraft 3, and then every version of WoW until Legion. This is where we come in. So on top of all the other mistakes Thrall's been making lately, he manages to lose Doomhammer. So now we have to go to Nicki Minaj and do her a solid so she'll tell us what she knows. This stuff is like, kill these annoying minorities, save my pet dragon, save my pet rocks. And then we finally track it down to a cave within a cave within a cave, and get to make Thrall watch us as we show him up and beat the crap out of the guy who beat him 1v1 and stole his favorite toy. Doomhammer is used by enhancement shamans, so it gives you a second hammer in your offhand to match the dual-wielding spec. This is called Fury of the Stone Mother, and it's basically just an excuse to let you still dual-wield, despite there only being one hammer. Funny how the most famous shaman weapon of the 3 has the simplest story. And that's about it. You now have cliff notes on why the shaman weapons matter and can go lecture all your friends on why chamois weapons are OP. Things to remember. You can only wield these weapons in the correct spec. No crossovers allowed. But you can obtain them in any order you'd like, and you eventually get all of them. Please comment, like, sub, share, etc., etc. All that stuff usually helps us out here on the channel, and if you're so inclined, Suggest which class I should do next. See you guys on the Broken Isles.